7 cameras were pointed at that goal. All 7 were significantly occluded. Hawkeye's own words. The ball was over the line. A referee's watch said nothing. And in football, nothing means no goal. So if all 7 cameras go blind at once, who decides the goal? You have been told this was a glitch, a freak, 1 in 9,000. Nothing in that stadium broke. Tested before kickoff. Confirmed working by the officials. Functional throughout, the manufacturer's own words. Which leaves you a worse question than a broken machine. What does an instrument do when it has nothing to say? And what does football do with the silence? 3 blind spots. 0 rules broken. This is the referee engine. You had gone 3 months without football. Villa Park, the 17th of June, 2020. Aston Villa against Sheffield United. No crowd. An empty ground, and you watching it at home. 42nd minute. A free kick drops towards the Villa goal. The goalkeeper, Ørjan Nyland, goes up to claim it. He fumbles and carries it back over his own line. Everything you are watching is our reconstruction built from coordinates. There is no broadcast frame in this video. The referee is Michael Oliver with bodies between him and the ball. He is not meant to settle this on eyesight alone. That is why the system is on his wrist. So he waits the way he has waited 1,000 times. For his wrist to buzz, it does not buzz. So play goes on. Your memory of this is probably wrong. No long check, no huddle, no 4 minutes of screens. Nothing happened at all. It finished 0-0. And the manager of the side that had just scored said this. I don't understand why we have VAR if there's a clear and obvious error. Why can't they just say it's a goal? Hold that question. Its answer is not the one you are expecting. Start with the object that actually decided this. Not a camera, a watch. You can read the clause yourself tonight in Law 1. Goal line technology may be used in the law's words to verify whether a goal has been scored to support the referee's decision. The signal must be immediate, automatically confirmed within 1 second. It reaches the officials by vibration and a visual signal on the watch, which is a description of an alarm, not a readout. Your speedometer shows a number even when the number is boring. A smoke alarm shows nothing until it screams, and that watch is the second kind. The signal it is built to send is the goal signal. For anything else, nothing arrives, which means its silence is doing 2 completely different jobs. Silence 1. The ball did not cross. All match, long, correctly. Silence 2. I cannot see the ball and I have no opinion. On a referee's wrist, those 2 are the same event. There is no third buzz. There is no code for, I don't know, that is blind spot 1, and it is a design decision, not an accident. We draw an error bar on everything here because a band admits what an instrument does not know. This one cannot admit anything. It rings or it does not ring. So when it went quiet at Villa Park, it did the only thing it is built to do when blind. So how do 7 cameras go blind together? 7 cameras per goal. That number is why you were told to stop arguing. They sit high in the stands and do one job, triangulate the ball, certified to the FIFA quality standard of plus or minus 3 centimeters. Hawkeye markets itself on millimeters, the company's own claim, not an independent finding. Now, 7 sounds like redundancy to you. It sounds like 6 spares. But these 7 are not independent, and the geometry shows you why. Everyone is aimed at the same small box of air in front of the goal. Put a body in that box and you do not block 1 camera, you shorten several. At Villa Park, 3 things were in the way, and Hawkeye names them. The goalkeeper, a defender, and the goalpost. That is not a freak arrangement of objects. That is every set piece ever played. It is the most ordinary picture in football, and it is the one you were watching. This system loses sight of the ball in exactly the situations that produce disputed goals. bodies on the line are why a goal is argued about and what blinds the cameras. So the failures do not scatter evenly. They cluster where you need them least. That is our inference, drawn from the 3 objects Hawkeye itself listed. Hold it to our own standard. Nobody has published the underlying data, but you do not need our word for it. Somebody was asked this exact question in public 7 years early. It had already been worried about in public years before it cost anyone a goal. The 11th of April, 2013. The Premier League's own explainer, questions, and answers. What about players obscuring the ball at the moment it crosses the line? They knew. Of course they knew. You would have asked it too. And the published answer, those 7 cameras locate the ball accurately, even when only a small percentage of it is visible. And in extensive tests, the ball has always been visible enough for an outcome to be decided. Read it carefully. You are being promised a small percentage. It is not a promise about 0. Nobody has published how much of the ball those cameras actually need. So the honest reading is, it always worked in the tests, and nobody published where the tests stop. 2,624 days later, a keeper, a defender, and a post found the edge of it. The Premier League did not get this wrong in 2020. It answered the question in 2013. That answer just had a soft edge nobody was ever shown. One more thing to take off you. The one that made people furious. Because a human was watching this on a bank of monitors, and he was allowed to fix it. The Premier League had VAR that night. Goals are checkable. PGMOL confirmed it afterwards in plain words. The VAR is able to check goal situations. So he had the power and the monitors. He did not check it. Because the on-field officials did not receive a signal, and because that was unique, the VAR chose not to intervene. An absence of signal was treated as information. The machine said nothing, and the room heard no goal. I am not accusing anybody in that room of anything, and neither should you. You would have thought it too about a system that had never done this before. It is the protocol that is wrong, not the man reading it. A protocol that treats silence as an answer can never tell you when it has no answer. And then the door closed. Play continued. And because play continued, the incident could no longer be reviewed at all. Not later that half. Not at the break. Not ever. Your appeal expired with the run of play, and nobody chose to close it. That is blind spot 3. Silence reads as a verdict, and your appeal expires at the speed of play. 3 blind spots, and everyone lives in the design, not in a person. Here is what nobody in that stadium ever got. The thing we would normally put on screen. How far over the line was that ball? Nobody ever published one. No measurement of that crossing was ever published by anyone. You will hear people say a foot, a yard, a meter. The most vivid thing anyone managed was a joke about the keeper ending up in the stands. A joke is not a distance. Think how strange that is. One of the most famous goal line incidents of the VAR era has no number. One machine in that stadium existed to settle that question. It produced nothing. And the number everybody does quote is not a measurement of the ball at all. 9,000. Hawkeye's statement says that level of occlusion had never been seen in over 9,000 matches. Ever since, that has reached you as 9,000 perfect matches. It does not say that. It says that level of occlusion, a claim about one severity. And those 9,000 are every match the system has operated in, not Premier League games. That is a denominator with no numerator. 9,000 matches, and no published count of the times those cameras were partly blinded anyway. A safety record without near-miss data is not a safety record. It is a story about the one time you were caught. And if it really was 1 in 9,000, football ran the experiment again. 2 years on, it took a goal off somebody else. Huddersfield Town at home to Blackpool, championship. 1 division below the match you just watched. Yuta Nakayama's equalizer, the ball, in Hawkeye's own words, moving over the line. The referee's watch stays silent, the goal is not given, and they lose 1-0. And Hawkeye's explanation arrives in almost the same words as the first. The cause, the position of the players, the goal post, and the goalkeeper. And so, in Hawkeye's words, a decision could not be determined by the system. Players, post, goalkeeper. Put the 2 statements side by side yourself. The same 3 kinds of object. Almost the same sentence. 809 days apart. So it was never 1 in 9,000. It is a repeatable failure with a repeatable cause, and now you know its name. Occlusion. Bodies in the way. Football, essentially. And the second time, there was no safety net at all. The championship had goal line technology. It did not have VAR, no monitor room to overrule the silence, nobody to choose not to intervene, just the watch and whatever it did not say. The EFL said it was incredibly frustrated. Hawkeye apologized unreservedly again. So what did it cost the people watching? You have probably heard it cost Sheffield United Europe. Check it with me. They finished 9th on 54 points. 6th and 7th both finished on 59. They drew that match. Hand them the goal and the win. 2 more points. 56. Still 3 short of either. You just did the arithmetic that kills that story. That 1-point margin sits somewhere else entirely. Aston Villa finished 17th on 35 points and stayed up. Bournemouth finished 18th on 34 and went down. Villa took a point out of that 0-0. In July, Bournemouth's board was reported to be discussing a compensation claim against Hawkeye. We found no report of what became of it. The public record stops there. I cannot tell you that failure relegated Bournemouth. Neither can anybody else. A goal in the 42nd minute changes every minute after it. Villa chase it, Sheffield United defend differently, and everything after that minute is different. You cannot rerun a season. Anyone who tells you how the table would have read is selling a feeling. What is fair to say is exactly this. A goal the league's own review says was carried over the line was not given. And the club that kept the point survived by 1. That is the cost, not a story about it. Just that. Which leaves the question you should be asking. What rule was actually broken that night? Go to the laws. There is a clause for technology failing. If the technology does not function in accordance with the testing manual, the referee must not use the GLT system and must report this to the appropriate authorities. Notice the scope. That clause is about the pre-match test. In the law, the failure mode is, the machine is broken, so do not use it. It was tested before kickoff and confirmed as working by the match officials. And in Hawkeye's own words, it has remained functional throughout. So every requirement was met. Test done, system working, referee acting on what he was given. Under the laws of the game, that was a compliant match. There is no clause for a system that passes its test, works all evening, and has nothing to say. The rulebook has a word for broken. It has no word for blind. Afterwards, PGMOL said it did not intend to require VAR checks of all future goal line incidents. I am not telling you nothing has changed since. I am telling you no change has been published. Those are different sentences, and almost everyone telling this story collapses them. What we can check is what happened next. And what happened next was Huddersfield. 7 cameras, 0 answers, and 0 rules broken. Every other instrument on this channel has an error bar. Offside lines have 1. Frame intervals have 1. Even the FIFA requirement of 3 centimeters is 1. This instrument has something else, an off switch you cannot see, and the referee is wearing it. So tonight, when you meet any automated call, ask it one question. Not for, is it accurate? Ask, what does it do when it cannot see? Does it say so or go quiet and let you fill the silence in? At Villa Park, the answer was quiet, and a room of professionals heard no. That machine had operated in over 9,000 matches. And the one thing it could never tell anybody was that it could not see. 10 years earlier, England had a ghost goal with no machine in the stadium at all. Not because the technology did not exist. It did, and had been tested in England twice. Somebody voted it down. That one is on the channel now.